Rugged landscapes, breathtaking views and one of the most dramatic coastlines in the world. Northern Ireland really does have it all. Welcome to Songs of Praise. In today's programme, I discover how the extraordinary columns of the Giant's Causeway were formed, with the help of a local expert who marries geology with faith.
I don't have any issue with understanding the science and still maintaining a faith in the God that created the science.
JB Gill experiences the beautiful Northern Irish countryside on two wheels as he joins a Christian cycling club.
If we love God and we love cycling, well, we're cycling for Christ because He's the one that lives in our hearts and in our lives.
And from the Premier League to priesthood, I meet the former international footballer who left the glamour of sport to serve God. For me, of course, Northern Ireland has been home all my life, but I'm constantly reminded that there's always something new to discover. Across the 6 historic counties, there's a huge variety in the landscape. It's no wonder iconic images have been captured here, and Northern Ireland now provides the perfect locations for major films and television series, including Come Home, Derry Girls and Game of Thrones. Our music today comes from across Northern Ireland, and we begin with Nathan Jess leading the congregation at Green Pastures Church, Ballymena, with a modern twist of Fanny Crosby's fantastic old hymn, To God Be the Glory.
To God be the glory, great things He has done, so loved He the world that He gave us His Son, who gave His life atonement for sin, and opened the life gate.
on the County Antrim coast lies one of the great gems in the country's crown and Northern Ireland's only UNESCO World Heritage Site, the Giant's Causeway. The extraordinary sight of these 40,000 interlocking columns is the North's most popular tourist attraction, with 1 million visitors last year. The same remarkable rock formations are found 80 miles across the channel on the Scottish Isle of Staffa at Fingal's Cave, giving rise to the legend that the rocks are all that remains of a causeway built by a giant. To take me beyond the legend is geologist Mark Patton.
Some of my earliest memories are coming here and just enjoying being outside with my mum and dad and my sister and visiting this place as a child.
And Northern Ireland, I mean, we are blessed with so many beautiful and interesting geological sites, aren't we?
You can go anywhere in Northern Ireland and just have wild beauty wherever, and it's all related to the geology.
When you look at the surface here, do you just see geology or do you see God's creation?
I think that you can't look at anything in the natural environment without being inspired that there's a creator behind it.
When you look down and you see these fascinating shapes, it's hard to wonder how were they made?
Well, what this represents is a flow of molten rock. This part of Britain and also west coast of Scotland and across to Iceland all formed part of what's known as an igneous province 50 to 60 million years ago. It was in that period that the rocks of the causeway were erupted again from a fissure type eruption, so a crack in the Earth's surface, runny lava flowing out from it. And because it was exposed at surface and able to cool slowly, that's what caused these columns to form. So the reason that you get these hexagonal and pentagonal columns is the rock is trying to actually cool to a circle because that's a stable shape. And that's what causes these vertical columns, these columnar jointing as it's called. And you'll see these same shapes across in Scotland at Staffa, Fingal's Cave. And conditions have been right in other parts of the world as well. You don't just get columnar basalts here, it's just we've got the story that sells it.
Some people find it hard to marry science and the creation theory. What do you think?
If you've got one God who's a creator, then the science behind what made these stones and all of the other geology that we see comes from one God. So I don't have any issue with understanding the science and still maintaining a faith in the God that created the science. And just the majesty of what you can see and how insignificant we are compared to what has been created. I find that's where the inspiration comes from.
Living here, all my life, you tend to take certain things like this for granted, don't you? But
I think
it really is special.
This is one of the places that I would bring friends and family. My wife is English. We've got a lot of English friends. And whenever they come to visit, this would be one of the places that we would bring them. And I love coming back every time. And every time I do come back, I wonder why I've left it so long. This is one of my particular favourites.
We see the hand of God in the light of creation's grand design, in the lives of those who prove His faithfulness, who walk by faith and not by sight. By faith our fathers roamed the earth.
Here in Northern Ireland, as with the rest of the UK in recent times, the popularity of cycling has skyrocketed. And as we speak, the best of the best are battling it out in the Tour de France. But not far from here, a group of Christian cyclists are in pursuit of more than a yellow jersey. JB Gill went out for a ride with them.
This is Strangford Lough, a designated conservation zone and the largest sea loch in the British Isles, covering nearly 60 square miles of County Down.
And it's the perfect place to explore on two wheels. I'm just hoping that it's flat. It is flat, right guys? Rush.
Cycle for Christ is a cycling group that's open to people of all ages and abilities. It was established 10 years ago by George Smith.
Me and my friend John, funny enough, we were riding side by side down on the Antrim coast, and we decided, well, if we love God and we love cycling, well, we're cycling for Christ because he's the one that lives in our hearts and in our lives. And it's having a church without walls, but we're a church on wheels. So that is something that is special.
So is the purpose of the club to reach non-believers, or is it to help the growth of existing Christians?
It is for people who are believers, but it is an evangelistic outreach.